Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is T-Bone here. Today, instead of playing World Zombination, I thought I'd do something a little different that's still World Zombination related, but it's something I wanted to try, a new series where I use Tableau to recreate some of the worksheets, the workbooks I've created in the past, or maybe have series where I create something new using new data that I've collected. So one of my hobbies is to take the data from World Zombination and create visualizations out of them. Hopefully that it's useful for some other people. I've shared them on the forums quite a bit, and I know that some people actually use it. So just an example of some of the things I've done. I'm part of the Unholy Angels Guild, and I track all of the stats for my guild. And so this is one workbook that tracks all of the data for a weekly status update, for the weekly GXP. And also there's another one where, as you can see, this is a graphical workbook where people wanted to be able to find exactly where to find a zombie or a survivor to help them with their daily assignments. So this workbook, what it does is it shows you the units in their images. When you click on them, it will actually tell you where you can find them. So if I wanted to look for FileMount, I know that I can look for him in Paris or in Vancouver. Or if I'm looking for an infector, there's actually numerous places: Shanghai, Sydney, Buenos Aires, New Orleans, Los Angeles, and Paris. Right. So this is one of the workbooks that I had some positive feedback on, which I really like. I really enjoy working on that one. And then my most recent workbook that I created is this one, where I can go ahead and show you what I did. This is a workbook geared at helping people figure out, for a particular unit, how much does it actually cost to upgrade. And depending on what level guild you're in, there are special discounts, and also just how long does it actually take. And so my default example I'm showing here is a Timber Beast. It shows you, how much total crates it requires to build, to level to 50. It shows at 5.5 million. And what is the individual level cost from 1 to 10, 11 to 20, all the way up to 50. And you can see a progression of just how many crates you expect to spend as you're leveling depending on your unit. And that was the intent. So why Tableau? Why not something else? The reason I use Tableau is because it is easy to use. And what I would like to do for today is to go through a very basic example using this as the base to sort of get you started. So I like to call this the introductory course for how to use Tableau for something that you might find interesting. And so I'm going to go over some of the very basic concepts. So in this example, you can see if I click on another unit, dead shot, for example, it tells me it filters everything to the dead shot. And I can change the rarity. I can say if I wanted to look at legendary units, and I really like the hacker, so I can click on the hacker, and it will tell me that it cost me, same thing, about 5.5 million crates to level hacker to 50 in my current guild level at 37. And it will take approximately 849 hours to complete if I just let her sit in the upgrade chamber locker for that long. So something you don't really think about, but it takes a long time to upgrade to 50. All right, so let's get on to business then. So how do I actually use Tableau? First step, go to this website, https://public.tableau.com, that's listed here in this image. And then when you go in, just sign up for a free account, and then you can download a free application on your computer. You can either download for a Mac or for Windows. For this exercise, I'm using the Mac version. The next thing you want to do is figure out, okay, where are you going to store the data you care about? And my recommendation is just use Excel. It's very simple. And what I'm showing you here is the data that is used to the data that got translated into this image, into this workbook. So this is what we're going to use as an example. And once you know what it is that you're trying to figure out, then you can start putting the data in. Now, the very first thing I asked was, okay, so what I want to know is for each tier of units, because I know there's 3 tiers of units in World Zombination, how much does it cost per level, and how much time does it cost per level? Now Tableau likes less columns and more rows. So what you notice here is I've basically taken the time to create individual rows that tells me for level 2, costs 100 crates for tier 1, and it takes a minute to upgrade. And I repeat this for all 50 levels for tier 1, then all 50 levels for tier 2, and all 50 levels for tier 3. The reason why this is useful is because you can then slice and dice the data a lot easier using this approach, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So once I have the data saved in an Excel spreadsheet file, it's time to go ahead and connect to it. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Tableau, and this is the opening screen. From here, I'm going to go ahead and click on Connect to Excel. Once I'm here, select the Excel spreadsheet that I've saved, and go ahead and open it. The next screen that it's going to show me is basically what I want to, what data do I want to bring in. And if you look in Excel, you'll notice that I have 4 tabs here, and the same tabs are also shown here. The one I wanted to use is stored in the cost to upgrade sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to double click, and you'll notice that if I look at the information here, it mirrors that of the Excel spreadsheet. So at this point, I'm done. Let's go ahead and move to sheet 1 where all the magic will happen. So in sheet 1, the important parts are looking on the dimensions and the measures. Now, if you look at the Excel spreadsheet, you'll remember the column names are upgrade level, cost, tier, and time to upgrade. And it's also shown here in alphabetical order. And you'll notice that next to these columns, there are these symbols, the pound signs. It's basically telling me that all the values that are stored in here are numbers. And why that's important is because anything that's in the measures that are numbers, they basically get added if you ever use it. So in Tableau, everything is either drag and drop or you can double click. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cost, double click it, and you'll see a bar chart. And what does this mean? And what is the actual number? There's a couple ways to see it. You can hover over it. There's always a tooltip that will show you the value that is being represented, in this case 19 million, or you can go to this button ABC, which really just says show mark labels, and what it'll do is it'll give you the label of the total amount that is shown here. Another way to go through it is to go to label, and then there's a checkbox for you to toggle whether or not you want to see that value, okay? And then just click outside of that little pop-up to dismiss it. So what is this number? This number basically is going through and adding all of the cost that I've listed here from row 2 all the way to row 148, and it's giving me the total sum of that. But that's not really what I want. And the reason, so what we want to do is we want to add some more information to it. So the breakdown that we're looking for is for every tier, what is the actual cost? And so what you want to do is you want to take the tier to combine to show this information, and what you can do is you can just go ahead and double click. But in this particular case, both of these are numbers and they're summed, and it's not showing you anything that's useful, and that is because you don't actually want to add up all of your tiers. You really just want to see numbers 1, 2, and 3 in a column. So let's go ahead and remove this. The way to remove it is to take it from the shelf and then just drag it away. Okay, and you're back to where you are. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, you know what? I don't want to represent my tiers as numbers that are just going to get added up. It's not useful for me. The trick is to then drag this up 1 to the dimensions. So what dimensions are is they are text. Even if the values that are represented here are numbers, it will not be added. And they differentiate that by using a blue color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, let's go and put the tiers here. All right. So now for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, it tells me what the total sum would be from levels 1 to upgrading from level 1 to 50. So that's a lot easier. That's a lot better than summing everything together, because now this is more informative. But the next level of that is I wanted to recreate what I had originally, and that is I want to know how many crates it costs per level. How do I do that? And so we need to add one more dimension to it, and that would be the upgrade level. So again, upgrade level was originally put in measures. I can convert that to dimensions. What you want to do is you want to play around with your data. You kind of want to understand your data a little bit to figure out whether you want it to be a dimension or a measure. Do you want it to be the sort of, another way to think of it is the dimensions is what you're going to see in the axes, and the measures is what you're going to see inside that's represented by the chart. So I've moved my upgrade level to a dimension, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in a row. And look at what happens. So what happens here is it goes and says, okay, upgrade level 2 through 50 for each of the tiers is how much it costs. Now, this isn't actually quite useful because it is too hard to see exactly what it's doing here. So some of the things you want to do is you want to explore a little bit and play around with the orientation, switch it between rows and columns, something like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, you know what, tiers and upgrade level, that doesn't look nice. So I'm going to move the upgrade level up to columns instead. Ooh, and look at that. Already I can see that this is something that I can use better. And so when you put something in the columns, so for example, upgrading columns, it means it's going to create more columns to the right. And then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tiers and the rows, and now let's see what happens there. So now I have 3 rows, and it shows me a progression of how much it will cost per row. And you notice how this kind of runs off to the right and is too big for the screen. A tip is to use this drop down here instead of saying normal, tell it to fit the width. And now you'll see everything one glance. And the other thing that I can do is I can say, okay, let's go ahead and also now show how much time it takes to upgrade. Now it shows for each tier how much it costs and also the time it takes to upgrade. And if you ever wanted to remove something, what you can do is take this, drag it away so that you have less information you can see. And what's interesting here is immediately you can see a pattern. I'm going to take away the labels to make it a little bit easier to see. You'll notice that at levels 10, going from 10 to 11, 30 to 31, and 49 to 50, I think there's a typo here, but going to level 10 for tiers 2 and 3 takes longer. And I guess going from level 10 to 11 in tier 3 is the one that takes longer. And level 50 takes significantly longer for tier 3 than for the other tiers. So right away, without having done anything, this is already telling me something that my Excel spreadsheet couldn't. And then there's other functionality that you can play with, which I will show you later on. You can do things like change the color. If I don't like blue, I can change it to red. I can change it to green, or I can change it to any other color I desire. And I'm going to go back and leave it in brown here. And so I can play around, and then I can go ahead and add the labels back in. And then now I have something that I can share with my friends. So this is the introduction to how to use Tableau at a very basic level, using data that we're more familiar with, and that is the World Zombination data. And so that's all for today. In the next set of series, what I would like to do is to go over perhaps one of the workbooks, and I will go step by step in seeing how I can recreate that using the data and explaining how I use it and how to transform your data into something that is visual and cool, just like this. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.